the more that you are grateful, the more it puts other people at ease because nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy.
Yeah.
There are like energy vampires. Energy vampires aren't grateful people. They're
Mhm.
not. And people there's that's a reason why they have that phrase like energy or energy vampires or like energy sucker or whatever. Like sometimes you just feel drained when you're around people, but when you are around someone that's just grateful and is smiling, because how can you say what you're grateful for without smiling? You're going to uplift one another. You're going to connect deeper. It puts other people at ease. You're not sucking the energy. You're actually giving energy to people, which then makes you feel like that you can come closer to one another as well. And not just people, but also nature and with God. Because if you believe in God or a higher power, a lot of people believe that this higher power or some kind of God is the provider of all that is. And when
Mhm.
you are grateful with that, then you're going to open your third eye. You're going to actually be more connected to that source of life, of abundance, and you will feel it. And you'll feel, I feel like, more intuition and more spiritual gifts. You'll notice being a little bit more connected to nature and feeling like actually noticing that there is life in nature and not just that it's an inanimate object because they're not. It's a living, breathing type of source, just like us. And when you are grateful, I know this sounds like magic, but it's not. It's just the energy, it's the science behind it. When you're grateful, you are truly more connected to all things living and all things that have created life.
Welcome to the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast, where you master your mind and coach your own comeback. You are the hero, you are the guide, and you will learn to architect your life from the inside. I'm your host, Britannia Stowe, joined by my sister and co host, Annika Wilder. Enjoy the show.
Brittany, I'm so excited for this episode because this is something I live by. This is something I practice every single day. And so we are going to dive in to the real power of gratitude. And this is not just a habit, right? This is a spiritual and psychological force that shapes our mindset, relationships, and reality. So, Britannia, you are like one of the biggest experts in this field, in this topic. Why does gratitude matter?
Oh, gratitude actually rewires the brain. I know that we're taught from such a young age, like it's important to be grateful, and we don't always know the reason why. Those that practice gratitude, I feel like, can feel the difference. And that difference is the rewiring of your brain. So, what happens when you practice gratitude is you actually release these neurotransmitters, dopamine and serotonin. And these are not just good feeling parts of your body and chemicals, though you do feel good when you have dopamine and you have serotonin, but it actually helps you in motivation, in habit forming. This is how you learn. When you release dopamine and serotonin, you are actually creating foundations for new habits. And dopamine increases neuroplasticity. So the brain is able to do the rewiring and form new neural connections. So you are more adaptable when it comes to new experiences. This is why if we, take the inverse of it, uh, when you take drugs or alcohol and dopamine and serotonin are released, this is why it's so habit forming. But gratitude does the exact same thing. So the more grateful you are, the more you practice gratitude, the more likely you are to be grateful and to have all the additional benefits of being grateful.
It's funny you say that because we were just talking before we were recording that like the more you sleep, the more you want to sleep. It's the same type of thing with gratitude. The more you are grateful, the more you want to be grateful. And this is 100% true. So as you are able to create the habit, it's not only just a habit, it's ingrained in who you are. And it might not be easy to start. Starting any kind of habit is difficult, but once it becomes part of you and that those neural pathways are created and new experiences and new beliefs are created, then it's actually easy and it's second nature. And which is very true for me. This is something that I've developed over years. I think, our parents taught us to be grateful grateful from the very beginning. And we always, wrote thank you letters to our grandma for Christmas gifts or birthday gifts or whatever it was. And this is something for me that is now second nature, that I catch myself all the time saying, oh man, I'm so grateful for XYZ. I'm so grateful this didn't happen. I'm grateful for this experience that I learned. I'm just saying it all the time. It's not forced. It's just a part of me.
Absolutely. And those habits, thankfully, our parents taught us at a young age, but you don't have to be taught at a young age to develop these habits, to have a gratitude practice. I know that I didn't learn about the law of attraction when I was little. I learned about it when I was older. And in doing my research for our podcast today, I realized that the law of attraction and gratitude actually go hand in hand. Annika, do you want to share what the law of attraction is?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, a good read would be The Secret. It's also a documentary movie. And it's a really great understanding. Like that book actually puts the law of attraction into such simple terms and easy to digest. I recommend anyone reading it. But basically, it's what you are doing, what beliefs you have, what thoughts you have, what emotions you have, what practices you have will then attract reactions into your life, right? So if we're thinking in a poor state of mind, if we are thinking we have low self-esteem, if we can't do something, if we're always negative, if we don't have gratitude, if we're complaining, then we will attract more of that behavior. We'll attract more situations to complain about. But the more that you are thinking positively, thinking that you can have success, the more that you feel gratitude in your heart, in your body, the more you will attract situations that will create more opportunities to be grateful. And so it's basically a if this then that type of energy.
Absolutely. And so I have this framework that takes the law of attraction and a gratitude practice and it kind of combines them together. So, first, you want to start with clarity and grateful awareness. So define exactly what you want and why. We know that in the law of attraction. But by also weaving in gratitude, you start to recognize the seeds that are already starting to sprout. So the good things that are already happening in your life, bringing awareness to what's happening and what you already have to gain clarity on what you want is the first step in the law of attraction.
Yeah, so part of it is looking around. Like if you're in your car, look out the window and see what you notice right here in your life. If you're in your room, if you're, what are you wearing? Like notice what you have, be present and create clarity of like, this is what I have, this is what I'm grateful for. Even if there's a lot of things going wrong in your life, try to find something that you can hold on to and anchor your gratitude with.
Absolutely. Like this morning, I did not get as much sleep as I wanted. But when I did wake up at this current time, my baby was asleep. And I just said, I am grateful that Harvey is sleeping. I would like to be sleeping, but I am grateful that my son is sleeping. And it again sets the tone for my day. And how we set the tone for our days will set the tone for your life.
Exactly. So what's your second thing on your list?
So, emotion and embodied gratitude. So, in the law of attraction, you feel the future now. The emotion that you feel is fuel. So, for me, working on my book, I will actually feel the excitement in having my book done and the joy that I get hearing that other people are reading my book, and you really embody that. Well, when you express gratitude, while at the same time feeling his emotions, it actually enhances that feeling. So I'm feeling grateful that my book is done. I'm feeling grateful that it's giving joy to other people. And I'm allowing the dopamine and the serotonin to release in my body today as if it has already happened. I know this was something I did with getting pregnant. I wanted desperately to get pregnant at a certain time. And the best way I knew how to attract this was to be grateful as if it already happened. Yes, I told people I manifested, but I actually felt the gratitude of holding my baby in my arms and being in this moment of joy of motherhood. So allow yourself to feel the feelings with that essence of gratitude weaved in.
I love that. And this is not just the woo-woo thoughts of Britannia Stowe. This is like proven and this is known knowledge. I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time, that if you want change in your life, that you have to imagine it in your mind and not just think it and not just want it, but actually feel it in your body as if it already happened, like you said. So this is something that Dr. Joe Dispenza has been studying for decades. So don't just take our word for it, but know that this is a known science that has been studied and tried, and we have found that it is true.
Yeah. Yeah, it is true. And that's why I'm so excited to share it is I think a lot of people do think this is just woo woo. But this is science backed. Another element to this framework is discipline, right? You got to take aligned, intentional action every day. When you weave in your gratitude practice, a daily gratitude practice in with your discipline, it makes the process more enjoyable, right? Get the focus of the destination out of your mind and instead focus on the process and be grateful for every step that you're taking because every step is taking you closer to that goal.
Yeah, 100%. And this is something that my real estate team embodies every single day. So we get together at 8:30 in the morning and we start off as an entire team and we share what we are grateful for. Every single one of us. And we're a big team. There's like 30 of us that show up, and then we have people on Zoom too. We have people in the Philippines that are our VAs that also share what they are grateful for. And every single person, and sometimes they're long stories, sometimes it's short, but every day our entire team shares what we're grateful for because our team's core values, we've got 7 core values. One of them is gratitude. And next to gratitude, our core value is we believe the act of expressing gratitude is the number one driver of happiness. And every single one of us believes that and lives it. And then we get to live it together, which is also just a cool other part of it that we're being grateful together as a team. And it totally sets the day, sets the attention, and makes us feel happy. It makes us truly feel grateful. And then you're a lot more productive when you get to work as well.
Oh, absolutely. And what a great experience. Any companies out there that are listening to this, that sounds like a really great core value to implement and a great practice every day. Now, the last part of our framework is detaching and grateful surrender. It really goes hand in hand with your discipline and trusting the process. It's releasing the how. When you get up in the morning and you go to your meeting and you express gratitude, you don't always know how your day is going to turn out or how you're going to call in these blessings, but you know that by being grateful, it will allow those blessings to come to you.
Yeah, that's perfect. I agree with that. So I know it's not magic. I mean, you've talked about it that it's mental priming and it's emotional energy and it's action. We can't just hope for it, but it's an actual thing that you do as well.
Absolutely. And I just want to add, in addition to the law of abundance, that being like we talk about, why does gratitude matter? It actually decreases anxiety. So I know in this day and age, a lot of us struggle with anxiety. It may be a constant general anxiety, it may be situational or social, but it actually decreases anxiety. You'll get better sleep. Now, if you have a new baby like me, you're just grateful for the sleep that you get. But having that decreased anxiety by practicing gratitude will give you better sleep and more emotional regulation. Annika, can you think of anything else that it would give you just practicing gratitude?
Well, just joy. So I heard a quote that said, "Joy doesn't bring gratitude, but gratitude brings joy," or something like that. And it's that you actually feel happier because what you see in your life, it is shifting your focus. If you are grateful, then you are looking at the world in a much positive mindset instead of being like, why is this happening to me? Oh, this is a sucky day. And you're focusing on all the negative things, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be down. You're going to be less motivated. But if you are looking through the lens of gratitude, you're going to actually feel happier, lighter, happier, more productive, more motivated to get stuff done because you're not bogged down by the negative mindset that is lying to you.
Absolutely. It reminds me of this Tony Robbins quote. You can't feel fear or anger when you're feeling gratitude. And that's so true. If you're allowing yourself to be grateful, you'll feel more joy. And if you're feeling gratitude and joy, then you're not going to feel anger and resentment. And it's allowing those positive emotions to align your day instead of allowing the negative ones to take over.
100%. And this is a quote that I've thought about a lot actually because I love Tony Robbins. And I think that the naysayers can be like, well, yeah, I can feel anger because I'm angry that the situation isn't working out, but I'm grateful for the learning experience. And that's not what he's saying. Like, of course, you can feel two things at the same time, but that's not actually what he means. Is like if you embody gratitude, if you are in a state of gratitude, like you are letting it swim inside you and swell inside your chest, like how could you feel anger? You are in a state of gratitude. So it's not just I'm thinking I'm grateful and I'm thinking about these bad things at the same time. It's so much more than that. It's actually changing your state because Tony Robbins is all about physiology and changing your state to feeling gratitude. That's where he's emphasizing that you can't feel anger at the same time.
Yes, I'm so glad that you broke that down. So let me ask you, Annika, what is something that you are deeply grateful for today? Maybe it's something you've expressed already in your morning meeting, and it may even seem insignificant to someone else. But what's something you're deeply grateful for today?
I only can pick one.
Just one. How long do you think this podcast is? You can say
Yeah.
as many as you want.
Oh my gosh. I mean, my sisters, my family, my kids, my husband. Dan has taught me so much, and I will never pretend that marriage is easy, especially when you marry someone opposite of you. But what it does bring is massive growth. And I have learned so much, and I know you have seen it over the last 10 years being married to my partner, and he's been amazing. And through all the ups and downs, like even through the downs, even through the hard parts, those are the parts that I've learned from the most. And then I've become a better person. And we just had a really great date on Sunday. And so I've been thinking about it. He's been thinking about it as a really good date. And we're just so grateful for one another and so grateful for the learning, for the growth, and for someone to be with during those hard times because we've been going through some hard times with our basement that we're trying to finish. And we kept saying to each other, like, this is so much easier when we're doing it together. And so it's just, yeah, so grateful for the family that I have and especially for my husband. What are you grateful
Oh,
for?
I love that. Well, I better say my husband now. Um, I am grateful for my husband. He's an incredibly good man and he balances me in so many ways. And so I'm so grateful to Jason and the help that he gives. Having a new baby is challenging and motherhood is hard, though it is the most rewarding experience. And as a mom, once you get pregnant, you have a lot of time to grieve your older self and kind of step into this new role. Well, the husband doesn't, and the father doesn't actually have that same timetable when it comes to learning to be a dad and the big changes that are coming. And I am just so grateful for how he's embraced fatherhood and how good he is with our son to not grow up around kids and to jump at a chance to feed him, hold him, rock him to sleep, even change a dirty diaper. I'm incredibly grateful. The list can go on. I love my husband so much. I also love how attractive he is. We were talking about this earlier. And I just think my husband is the hottest man in the world. And I am so
As you
grateful
should.
for that.
As you should.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm grateful for my baby. And I was thinking about this yesterday. I was reimagining the labor experience because I did it without an epidural, so I felt everything. And I am grateful for that. I am grateful for the memory of the struggle that it took to bring him here. and how much I wanted him. I'm so grateful for my family who's been supportive, but also my chosen family. I live far away from you and from mom and my other sister, Johanna. And so I don't have you guys here to help me every day, but the sisterhood that I have been able to bring into the fold has shown up. I had my girlfriend Tracy last Friday that said, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm coming by. It'll be a quick drive by." And she stopped and she brought me coffee. And then she pulled out a bouquet of flowers and cookies and bread and chocolates. And she's like, "I just want you to know that you're doing a good job, Mama. And I just wanted to like show you some love." And I am just so blown away by the generosity and the kindness from my chosen family. I'm grateful for so much. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. And it may not be my own home, but I have a very nice and safe, secure place to live. And I'm just so grateful for that.
That's good. And how do you feel now that you've said all of those gratitudes? Where do you feel it in your body? What just happened?
You know what? I was feeling a little tired and a little heavy in my face and in my chest just because I was tired. And after expressing this gratitude, I feel lighter in my chest and even a little less heavy in my face. My eyes still feel a bit tired, but I do feel lighter and slightly energized, actually. Interesting.
Yeah, and that's what I think it's good to ask people is like notice the differences. And for me, it's just kind of like a little giddy, like a little lighter, like, hey, I'm so grateful. So Britannia, what else happens with gratitude? What grows with attitude? Other avenues of our life? What else?
Yeah, well, we talked about abundance and the law of attraction, right? So, abundance definitely grows with gratitude. You begin to see how much you have already, and that, of course, calls in more. I would even say respect, respect for yourself, respect for others. Gratitude humbles your experience and gives you perspective on other people's experience. And so I think it really honors that everyone's path is their own. So I would add respect grows definitely from gratitude. What about you, Annika? What do you think grows from gratitude?
Well, definitely connection with people, because the more that you are grateful, the more it puts other people at ease because nobody wants to be around a negative Nancy.
Yeah.
You know, there are like energy vampires. Energy vampires aren't grateful people. They're
Mhm.
not. And people that's a reason why they have that phrase like energy or energy vampires or like energy sucker or whatever. Like sometimes you just feel drained when you're around people, but when you are around someone that's just grateful and is smiling, because how can you say what you're grateful for without smiling? You're going to uplift one another. You're going to connect deeper. It puts other people at ease. You're not sucking the energy. You're actually giving energy to people, which then makes you feel like that you can come closer to one another as well. And not just people, but also nature and with God. Because if you believe in God or a higher power, a lot of people believe that this higher power or some kind of God is the provider of all that is. And when
Mhm.
you are grateful with that, then you're going to open your third eye. You're going to actually be more connected to that source of life, of abundance, and you will feel it. And you'll feel, I feel like, more intuition and more spiritual gifts. You'll notice being a little bit more connected to nature and feeling like actually noticing that there is life in nature and not just that it's an inanimate object because they're not. It's a living, breathing type of source, just like us. And when you are grateful, I know this sounds like magic, but it's not. It's just the energy, it's the science behind it. When you're grateful, you are truly more connected to all things living and all things that have created life.
Oh, Annika, that was so well said. I agree with you 100%. And in that, I think presence also grows. And when you notice, all this connection with others and with nature, you have to be present to notice that. And presence is difficult. That's what meditation is you have to really be present in the moment. And I find that it's incredibly increasing when you practice gratitude. So I tell people in my yoga classes, if you are finding that your mind is wandering, bring your awareness to your breath because you can't breathe and not be present, right?
Mhm.
You know, you're breathing in, you're breathing out. It's real time. And if you can increase your awareness of presence, you can increase your gratitude. So it's this like cycle, right? Where like I am, you know, being grateful for my breath and for nature. And then the more that you are present in the moment, looking around at what you're grateful for, or just going through the list, it will exponentially grow, which gives you the strength for resilience because that's another thing that gratitude will help call in. Gratitude creates perspective during suffering. There is suffering in life, right? We've all have dealt with suffering and grief. And by being grateful, it's not this toxic positivity. It's actually allowing you to make it through the hard times. When like I'm grateful for my nanny, who I don't have today. But I am very grateful that I have one. And it's Harvey's uncle, Brandon. And I love when he comes and spends time with him. But when I don't have him, I have a bit of more suffering, I guess you could say. My life is a little bit more difficult. And the more that I practice gratitude for him, even though he's not here, the easier this time is. And it will make this, you know, kind of chaotic time where I'm trying to navigate work and podcast and baby all by myself while my husband's at work so much easier.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a word. It's part of my affirmations that I tell myself all the time that I'm resilient, and I do believe that having gratitude does create resilience, and it's something that I think everyone should tell themselves because let's get real, like life is hard sometimes. Like we're not going to pretend like we've got it all figured out or that life's easy and it's just like this magical fairy tale. It's not true. It's just as hard for you and me as it is for the rest of the world. It's just how are you going to paint the picture? And how resilient are you? And what's going to breed resilience is going to be gratitude. When you are focused on your presence, when you're focused on what you do have, you're automatically going to feel more resilient. Like, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought because of these things that I have. I can do this. I can keep going. And then it also helps. This is like something that's so cool is generosity is that if you are grateful, then you will also be more generous. And it can be very literal. Like when we were really struggling and we were in mountains of debt and we had no money to buy our kids Christmas presents, we had people from the neighborhood and from our sphere just bring an entire living room full of presents. This is when my babies were really young. And I just remember crying, like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that people thought of us, that we were like a recipient of a secret Santa and feeling extremely blessed to have a room full of presents. And we didn't buy a single present for our kids that year. We didn't have the money, but they had a Christmas because of the people that were willing to do it. And I immediately feeling so grateful was like, I'm going to do this for somebody one day. I am also going to be generous because I know what it feels like to receive when you are in need. And I also want to create that so other people can feel what I'm feeling when you get it.
Oh, Annika, that's so beautiful. That reminds me of, do you remember when we were little in Germany and you know, our parents did the best that they could, but you know, five kids, a family of seven is not easy to feed. And there was one year where we weren't going to have a Thanksgiving. And our parents just kind of set us down and be like, "Hey, we're gonna have like spaghetti or something. Don't worry, we're gonna have dinner. You guys won't go, you know, without food, but it's just not gonna be this big Thanksgiving meal." And one day there was a knock on our door, and we open the door, and there are two giant grocery bags filled with everything needed to make the perfect Thanksgiving dinner. The turkey, the stuffing, the potatoes. I mean, everything. There was even pie. And we bring that in, and instead of being like embarrassed because we, you know, couldn't afford these things or um just being, in the state of shock, we were actually in the state of just sheer gratitude that immediately after we had our Thanksgiving, I remember us just as a family having so much gratitude. And then the very next year, we were talking about ways that we could give back to others. And even at school, I would, see if there was a kid who didn't have lunch, and I would give them my free lunch ticket, and just constantly with this mindset of gratitude. So absolutely, gratitude grows generosity. That was a good one, Annika. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's the same story of Tony Robbins. This is why he has a goal to feed 1 billion people, or maybe he's already reached that goal. But it started with feeding one person, and then four, and then seven, and then 14, and then he's literally has provided millions of meals across the world. And it all started with that same type of story. They didn't have a lot of money. Somebody dropped off food, and Tony Robbins' dad didn't want the food. And the man's like, don't let your pride get in the way from like Thanksgiving for your family or whatever it is. But it's all totally it's a whole part of Tony Robbins' story is somebody dropped off food they didn't have it, and now he is feeding the world literally with his resources that he has. So if gratitude doesn't breed generosity, I don't know what does.
Ah, it reminds me also talking about these stories of when we were younger. Mom used to always say, start with thank you. Start with thank you before you ask for something. So if, I want to go stay at my friend's house, my mom's like, well, first, what are you grateful for? What have I done for you that you can acknowledge before you run around asking for more? And I just remember it not being in prayer, even though we were raised LDS and we said a lot of prayers. And in prayer, it's important to offer gratitude before asking for more. I thought our mom did a really good job of encouraging us to be grateful. And it reminds me of a story. As we were writing out the outline for this podcast, I was thinking about when I was really little. I was 8 years old and I had lost my locket. Do you remember this?
No, I'm so excited to hear it.
Okay, so we didn't have a lot of real jewelry, and it was the only piece of real jewelry I had. It was a real gold locket, and I had a picture of mom and a picture of dad in it, but it was from Oma, which we didn't see very often because we were living in a different state or sometimes a different country. And I went to go put on my locket, and it wasn't there. And so I went to tell mom, and I was like, Mom, my locket's missing. I don't know where it is. And it's my favorite locket. And she's like, well, you should pray and ask God to help you find your locket. And I was like, why is God going to help me find my locket? That's ridiculous. It's a locket. She goes, well, does it mean a lot to you? Are you really grateful for it? And I was like, yeah. She goes, then why wouldn't God care? And I was like, okay, I guess that's true. And I was like, well, so what do I say? Like, ask him where it is. And she was like, why don't you first express how much it means to you? And so I knelt down in my room and I said this prayer. And I remember it to this day. I told Heavenly Father how much this locket meant to me because not only was it from my Oma, who I love very much and don't get to see, but it also had a picture of my mom and my dad in it. And it was really important to me because family's important to me. It wasn't just the monetary value of this gold locket. And I just remember sitting in this moment of gratitude and then asking, God, please, like if you could help me find it, I would really appreciate it because of how much joy it brings to me and my life. And so I just kind of sat there. And then I had this feeling to go check my baby cradle. So I had dolls and Barbies, and I had this pink cradle that I kept all my dolls in. And I was like, no, I'm not going to go check this cradle. Why would my locket be in a cradle? That's ridiculous. And I just got this feeling again and again, go check the cradle, go check. And I was like, okay, God, like if this is where I need to go check, I will. And I walk over to my cradle and I lift up the blanket, and underneath all the blankets was my gold locket that apparently I stuck there for safekeeping because I thought it had to be in some secret hidden space. And in that moment, not only did I feel gratitude, but I said another prayer. of gratitude, just thanking Heavenly Father to help me find this locket. I know it may not seem like a big deal to someone, but that was such a testimony to me of the power of gratitude, the power of prayer, the power of listening and trusting, even if the response seems a little strange, but trusting the process, and you'll be surprised what turns out.
I love that story. And I feel like every kid should have that story. Like, if you're a parent, teach your kids the same thing because that created a belief system in you very early on that this stuff works. And I think that also gratitude fills you up. And then you are less likely to need more. And I think this is like the science and the reasoning behind offering gratitude in prayer first or to anybody. Because if you are grateful, all of a sudden you are less in need of other things. And think of it as being full. Like, if there's like an analogy, if you are full when you go to the grocery store, you're going to buy less. You're not going to need as much food. But if you go to the grocery store hungry, you're buying all kinds of stuff. And most of it you don't need. You're just hungry and you're buying all the snacks and more than you need. But if you go full, you need less. You will ask for less. So show up full by getting full on gratitude.
I love that. You know, you mentioned this earlier when we express gratitude and how you feel differently. You know, it really does raise your vibration. It really changes how you feel and how you operate. Like you just said, going to the grocery store and now you want less. And so I just want to encourage all of our listeners that being grateful is not just something that you're taught to do at a young age because you should be. It will actually change your life.
Totally. And I testify. I testify of that because it's changed my life. It's just of who I am. And I think it will bless you in a way that maybe you didn't realize you needed. And so I think this is a really great place to tell people how they can coach themselves. Like, maybe this isn't something that they are used to. This is something they haven't formed a habit in. They weren't raised to have gratitude. So how can we coach others to coach themselves through building this habit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I really feel like creating some type of gratitude daily ritual. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but if you can practice it a little bit, a minute every day, it can really raise your vibration. It can be that motivation and it can call in all these things we talked about. So, one of those can be at night, writing down the three things you're grateful for that happened that day. Or for me, it was this morning, is I woke up maybe not in the best mood. So I decided to call out the things I was grateful for to help set the tone for my day. So, whether it's morning or night, calling it out, saying it out loud, or writing it in a journal, but taking the time to acknowledge those things. I would also encourage a gratitude letter. So I love to send random texts to, and Annika, you do the same thing, random texts to my friends and to my loved ones, just expressing gratitude. I'm grateful for them, maybe because they did something recently, or maybe just because you're an amazing sister and I want you to know that. So I encourage you to think of maybe someone that has recently done something for you, or maybe there's someone you haven't thanked and it was for something they did, a year ago, 10 years ago. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe you've never actually thanked your mom because let me tell you, being a mom is hard. And they definitely need to hear some of that gratitude. So writing a letter or calling them and expressing that gratitude. I would also encourage a nature walk. I really liked how you had mentioned that earlier about connection with nature because it is a living, breathing thing. And so going on a nature walk and looking at the leaves, talked about the seasons last episode or two episodes ago. And even the brown leaves that are now scattered on the ground, we can be grateful for. Maybe it's the crunch that they make. Maybe it's the fact that they're going to nourish our soil and protect us during winter. Going on a nature walk and calling that stuff out, even when the seasons don't look as beautiful, can definitely help create that gratitude practice.
I agree. And I think it's easy in this moment to say, okay, I will do that tonight. I'm going to say what I'm grateful for. I'm going to write it down. I'm going to text my friend right after work. But if you're listening to this right now, just right now, text somebody, say it out loud. What are you grateful for? Like, don't wait. Don't do I will because you always will procrastinate. It'll always come tomorrow. Instead, do it right now. You don't have to wait for the new year to start a new habit or a new resolution. Like you could start any time. And I am challenging anyone that listening to this right now, just repeat out loud what you are grateful for. And if it has to do with someone, text them, call them right now. You can stop the podcast. You can press play after. Like do it now.
That also brings up another thought that I had was using gratitude in conflict. So, often we're thinking that, oh, you're in this great space and maybe you're on a walk or you're driving and life is great. So, yeah, let's just be grateful right now because we're in that capacity. But maybe you're feeling pretty grumpy. Maybe you're in a heated argument right now. Maybe you just got done with a intense conflict that you didn't expect. Expressing gratitude amidst conflict will help call in some of that presence and that awareness and can actually shift the dynamics of the conversation and the outcome of that conflict.
100%. I agree. And it helps, like you said, shift the dynamic. So it helps like relieve their tension on the other side. And they're less likely to, or they're more likely to put down their emotional weapons.
Yeah. I'll tell you, for all the ladies out there who, have a spouse and you're trying to get them to understand your point of view, it does disarm them. It's one of my biggest tools with my husband. If he's listening, he's going to know that I do this. But when we are in a disagreement, I will often thank him for his vulnerability, for his honesty, for taking the time to express how he's feeling, even if he wants to go to the gym or wanted to take a nap or whatever it was. I do make a point to express my gratitude in the midst of that conflict, and I almost always have a smoother squabble instead of a big fight.
I love that. I think this is so good. And I hope that others are getting as much out of it as I am and really creates a gratitude ritual for themselves because it really is life changing.
It is. And I just want to say, I have my baby here and I am so grateful for his cooing and his noises. So if you hear them on today's episode, I'm grateful for them and we're going to leave them in because I am grateful that my son is vocal and I'm grateful for this podcast. Thank you, Annika, so much for being my co-host and bringing the depth and wisdom that you have every week.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
All right, everyone. Remember, gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a transformational force. This has been another episode of the Be Your Own Life Coach podcast. If you found value in today's conversation, subscribe and share the love. And remember the teachings of Lao Tzu. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. Until next time, trust yourself. Take the wisdom, take the breath, and take the next step.